Islam's growth is actually relying on one particular thing: birth rates.
Well, providing the stats are accurate, I can't really argue with that.
Islam's growth is relying on one particular group: women.
So, making a negative point about high birth rates in Muslims and then only demonizing women for it. Last time I checked, it takes two to tango. Ironically, for a feminist, that's quite a misogynistic thing to say, don't you think? A dislike or strong prejudice against women.
In the West, Islam relies very heavily upon Muslim women to entice non-Muslim women to consider and embrace Islam.
Subhanallah. There's just so much wrong with this statement. Honestly, I don't know where to begin. That Islam in the West is a monolithic bloc. It presupposes and frankly feeds into the false and dangerous narrative that Muslims are, number one, united, and number two, have a common goal, which is frankly absurd for any demographic group, let alone one as huge and diverse as Muslims. In social science, this is called essentialism. This is the toxic idea that a whole bunch of people can be defined by a handful of ideas. Some examples of dangerous essentialist thinking in politics are: blacks are violent, Jews are rich, Mexicans are rapists, and obviously more relevant to us, Muslims are terrorists. And guess what expert anthropologists say about this kind of thinking? Essentialist thinking lies at the core of many reductive, discriminatory or extremist ideologies. Now, a lot of us will know about the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, part of a famous conspiracy theory that argues Jews, as a group, secretly control the world. Did you know there's a Muslim version of this conspiracy? It's called the Eurabia Conspiracy theory, and I'm going to provide a link in the description, inshallah. Now see if you can spot Infidel Noodle's personal views in this summary of the bigoted conspiracy. You don't get a prize for spotting the similarities because, frankly, it's uncanny. Muslims are a monolith. They have a secret plan. They want to overrun the West. They'll do this with mass immigration facilitated by Western liberals. And a high birth rate. They will impose Sharia law. Infidel Noodle isn't making a bad point just because she's factually sloppy. If only. But she's literally peddling, near enough, 66.67% of the tropes of this famous Muslim-hating conspiracy that asserts, based on those very same premises that Infidel Noodle is justifying in her videos, that Muslims will soon overrun the West and initiate Sharia law. In the exact same way as Noodle is obsessed with high Muslim birth rates, creepy Eurabia peddling nuts are also obsessed with Muslim birth rates. Muslim culture is unusually full of messages laying out the practical advantages of procreation. In the 30 years before the meltdown, Bosnian Serbs had declined from 43% to 31% of the population, while Bosnian Muslims had increased from 26% to 44%. This continues.
Islam relies very heavily upon Muslim women to entice non-Muslim women.
Islam relies. Here again, with the words, Islam relies. She's insinuating that Islam, as a unified body of 1.8 billion people, somehow has an overarching goal, a secret agenda that it is deliberately carrying out unbeknownst to its native Western hosts. Tell me, how lost in your own thoughts do you have to be to not realize that you're just being a straight-up Nazi here? I mean, you wouldn't say this kind of stuff about any other group, right? You wouldn't, for example, say black people rely on their historic suffering to get the sympathy vote. Just because you've cited one factoid, i.e. black people endured slavery, doesn't then give you the license to, smuggle in the insinuation that A, all black people are the same, B, they're uniformly out to play victim. You'd rightly be called out as a racist for this disgusting generalization and false negative assumption. Yet, this is what you're doing with Muslims. Number one, Muslims have a high birth rate. Number two, therefore, Muslims must have a plan. Tell me, how do you go from a banal birth stat to that grotesque conclusion without losing all credibility. Now, the conspiracists obviously keep going. Number 3, therefore, Muslims will take over the West. Okay, Noodle doesn't continue all the way with the final part of the conspiracy, but she's sure as hell going up to the gate and opening it up for the mindless thugs who'll just walk right in. By the way, the word
entice
isn't a slip of the tongue. It's called a dog whistle and is frankly loaded with so many non-verbal cues, insinuating Muslims are two-faced, underhand, and their behavior is motivated purely by a secret agenda, and all non-Muslims are obviously unwitting victims.
What the concept of a dowry actually does is make an attempt to quantify our worth as women.
This is rich coming from someone who's basically implying that all Muslim women in the West, without exception, go to sleep thinking about and wake up every morning with a single goal: to
entice non-Muslim women
to Islam.
One thing that really drew them into Islam and made them want to stay was other women. The way that they were able to paint Islam as something that women would love.
They're all undercover recruiters, pretending to be wives, mothers and daughters. They're radicals, pretending to be neurosurgeons, teachers and librarians. So they can't be trusted to be upfront and honest. If they're being nice to you, don't buy it. It's only a ploy to convert you to Islam. If they invite you for a coffee, don't go. It's purely to trick you into becoming a Muslim. Noodle practically spells this out as she goes on to throw shade on 1 billion acts of kindness of 1 billion women, literally stripping all these unique and wonderful Muslim women of their precious humanity.
That the one thing that really drew them into Islam and made them want to stay was other women, their kindness, their generosity, their relatability, and the way that they were able to paint Islam as something that women would love.
Once more, it's something straight out of the Eurabia Conspiracy blogs of the likes of Gates of Vienna, Richard Spencer and Pam Geller. Frankly, Muslims are all untrustable taqiyya traitors, a fifth column secretly undermining Western civilization. When did we last see this trope in Europe? I can't think of when. Infidel Noodle, can you objectify and dehumanize women anymore if you tried? Jeez, why do you hate women so much?
And of course, once that happens, those same women are then encouraged to go looking for a Muslim husband.
Oh boy, it just gets worse and worse. So now it's a pyramid scheme. Noodle, are you really now going to deny 1 billion different women their personal agency and free will? Are all these swathes of Western Muslim women, that include my own sisters, nieces and cousins, mindless Autobots now? So for you, a Muslim woman ever, talking about her religion with other women cannot possibly be anything other than the fact that she's involved in executing a secret worldwide mission to make the world Muslim. Oh, it can't be that these women who talk about religion maybe, just maybe, find comfort and healing and purpose in their lives because of Islam. Oh, it can't possibly be that these women genuinely find solace and spiritual growth in Islam. No, Islam cannot possibly be helping these women to deal with their divorces, deaths and diseases. It can have no useful purpose for a woman. It has to be only about world domination and conquest. Remind me, who designated you the official mind reader of the motives of 1 billion Muslim women? And how much does the job pay?
Also explained to me that this went as far as her dropping out of college after finding a husband just so that she could have Muslim children and fulfill the role of a wife.
Muslim women don't have babies like other normal women because they want to experience the joys of motherhood. Don't be silly, and to bring an amazing new life into the world? No. Or that they love their parents, or perhaps they want to begin a family like everybody else in the world? No. They're all heartless baby-making machines, only reproducing to populate and infest the West with more Muslims. Again, she's happily stripping 1 billion women of not just their identity and humanity, but also their entire maternal instinct to reproduce and embrace motherhood. This isn't just dehumanization. This is grotesque, National Front, Mein Kampf level dehumanization. And you complain it's Islam that devalues women by comparing them to farmland just because it uses a respectable metaphor instead of overtly sexualized language?
Islam wants to pretend that we are fields.
You're literally cheapening the lives of 1 billion women, and yet, in the very same video with your exact same breath,
Islam wants to pretend that women are something upon which you can place a price tag, when in reality, we are priceless.
To be honest, I'm so confused, man. Not kidding. Really, I'm not. How can a person claiming to be a 21st century modern liberal feminist who says she stands for women's rights, i.e. she respects women's independence and precious individuality, but then be so sweeping and heartless in how she snatches away those same things, in how she thinks about millions upon millions of women, not one or two that she's met in person, but literally millions upon millions of different women she's never met and can never meet. I mean, the sheer gall and arrogance of this incredible video is astounding. The only thing I can think of is her feminist values are just so shallow, so shallow, that it gets trampled by her blinding prejudice towards Islam. To be fair, I doubt Noodle even realizes she's playing right into all these women-hating, racist, Islamophobic tropes. I'm probably giving her way too much credit and holding her up to all these unfair standards. Maybe. What do you think?